So when I signed up for this, never in my wildest dreams could I have imagined Pajama Gate and that wearing pajamas on my early morning walk to Dunkin Donuts would cause as much drama as it did. My name is Dave Kerpen, and I am the candidate.
What does it really take to run for local office? On The Candidate, we're pulling back the curtain on the messy, expensive, and sometimes bizarre world of local politics. Join us as we share the unfiltered truth about what happens before you see those campaign signs pop up in your neighborhood. I'm your host, Jess Milanis. We're following serial entrepreneur Dave Kerpen as he dives headfirst into the world of local politics. Ready for a change in the world? This is your opportunity to be the candidate. Making the right hiring or rental decision isn't just important, it's essential. At AccuData, they provide fast, accurate, and compliant background screening services that help businesses, landlords, and property managers make informed choices with confidence. From criminal background checks to employment verification and credit reports, their comprehensive screenings ensure you hire and lease with peace of mind. And with their easy-to-use client portal, managing background checks has never been simpler. Trust the experts who put accuracy, compliance, and customer service first. Visit AccuDataHoldings.com today and start screening smarter.
Hi, Jess.
Hi. You sent me a text yesterday saying, oh my God, this needs to be on the podcast. And we had recorded yesterday, kind of touching a little bit on identity. And we've talked, there's been a whole through line through this entire season about being transparent, being authentic, being who you are. And this podcast is part of that. And also just how you're running your campaign is part of that. And so I want for people to know, what the heck is Pajama Gate?
Yeah.
What came
So,
up?
so here's what Pajama Gate, as my family has named it. So for context, I go, every morning to Dunkin Donuts in my town in Port Washington, and I get coffee for myself and coffee for my wife. It's a ritual of connection, as the Gottmans have called it. The Gottmans, like the leading couples therapists, and I'm like really proud of the fact that it's a part of my routine. And once in a blue moon, I get dressed first, but usually, like before my coffee, I'm like, kind of dead to the world. So I just like literally walk in my pajamas to Dunkin Donuts and get my coffee and come back and, kind of start my day. And so yesterday, I got a text rather, from somebody, a leader in the Democratic Party, who I have a tremendous amount of respect for and who has been amazing in guiding me, but who I don't always agree with. And they said a couple of people told me they saw you in pajamas this morning. Can we discuss? And I was kind of like, yeah, I go to Dunkin Donuts in the morning in pajamas. Like, what do we need to discuss? And they said, this is serious. We need to talk. And that was my first, like, wait, what? This is serious, really? And we had a conversation, and, apparently there was a lot of concern that I could be photographed in my pajamas and that would look non-executive, and that it would be a sign that, I don't know, the Republicans could exploit it, make me look bad, make me look amateurish. I'm not sure, they thought maybe it would embarrass me, and it could even not only hurt me, but hurt other people on the slate. And this was really, really hard for me, Jess, because of course I want to win. And of course I want everyone that's campaigning for me and with me and on my slate to win. That's part of this. It's also like super, super important that I am myself and that I'm authentic, and what you see is what you get. And like if wearing pajamas in the morning to walk to Dunkin' Donuts is really truly such a bad thing that would somehow get me not elected, then would I want to be elected? And it's the same for much bigger things like the Jewish thing that we can talk about. But like even for something this small, it was really hard because I did truly appreciate that, the leader was really upset. And and the biggest thing that got me was like if my actions could hurt not only me but other people, then that would really, really stink and be unfair. So I actually called my running mate and I said like, "Hey, how do you feel about this?" And Jason Liu, who's a great guy, who's running for clerk, which is sort of like the running mate in a local town supervisor election, and he was like, "I don't care. Like, you can wear pajamas." Like, um, and I called my consultant who said like, "Dave, the most popular senator in the country, where John Fetterman wears t-shirt and shorts to work in Congress, like really, you could
Yeah.
totally be exactly who you are. Like this is not an issue." And and I pushed back on it. But for like an hour and a half of my precious time, like this was like Pajama Gate was a thing, and it was like really stressful, and I felt really bad. But like I don't embarrass easily, Jess, and I literally said like if wearing pajamas in the morning to walk to Dunkin' Donuts is the best attack that the Republicans have, I could be so freaking lucky. Like that would be amazing, right? Honestly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and I feel bad if there are Democrats or supporters that feel like it's unprofessional to walk around in pajamas. I do. And they need to know that, like, for me, I don't think it's unprofessional. I mean, it's morning and I don't like to waste a lot of time and energy on decisions and, to change before I take a shower and get dressed for the day would be like changing twice. It would be extra time and extra thinking. And I just I don't, I don't see the need. I really don't. I told you right before we aired or we started recording that, when I was on reality TV, 2003, so 22 years ago, I, I was in People Magazine. People Magazine called me homely. Like, homely is like a nasty word for ugly. It's like a really, really mean word. I, I've talked about that, in my keynotes. Like, that sucked. But like, if People Magazine can call me homely, like, the Republicans on Long Island they can't get me. Like
Yeah.
they could say what they want, but like certainly wearing pajamas in the morning, like it's not reflective of who I am or how I will lead. It's just not. It's not. So yeah, it was like stressful, and now hopefully it's a joke like Pajama Gate, but like I do feel bad because like I've obviously pissed off some people in the Democratic Party, and I want people to support me and like me. Like likability is an important thing, but I just have to be me.
Yeah.
And I know it kind of sucked, but I have to be me, and I can't really apologize. I won't really apologize for being me. I mean, if it's hurting people, like I don't want to hurt people. If if my wearing pajamas really loses not only me the election, but like others, that would suck. I would be horrible. I would feel horrible. The flip side is I'm pretty confident that I'm going to do things that are totally different and out of the box, and that will help me win and hopefully help others win on the slate.
Yeah. Starting your morning with back to back meetings? Dunkin' has been keeping America's leaders moving for generations. Try our new brown sugar cookie cold brew, topped with brown sugar cold foam. Smooth, bold, and perfectly balanced. Pair it with a fresh baked croissant when you need that extra boost. Join DD Perks through the Dunkin' app or at Dunkin.com and start earning rewards on every purchase. The candidate runs on Dunkin'. Well, and one of the things that I feel is interesting is that we're looking at this idea of a public image. And you've had a very public image for a long time, for 23 years. This is not your first time around the block. And it would be interesting to know if you have any thoughts on, is their coaching coming from a place of they're scared because this is how it's always been done,
Yeah.
or is it something else?
Yeah, I think that's a great. First of all, I've actually been public for even longer because while I
Of
was
course you
before
have.
Paradise, yeah, before Paradise Hotel, I was the Crunch and Munch guy in Boston
It's
Garden
true.
and the Fenway Park, and while I had lots of fans, I also had people, including like Boston Globe columnist Bob Ryan and Bill Simmons, who was like a local columnist back then and became like a big star. Like they hated me. They called me an idiot and all kinds of names. Like they hated me. So yeah, I have lived my life publicly, and that's a really interesting element of this because one thing that the leader said to me, the Democratic leader said to me, was like, now that you're in the public eye, you have a public life and a private life, and that didn't ring because to be to be quite frank, I haven't had I haven't seen, at least in me, I can't. Lots and lots of people have a public life and a private life. I totally get
Yeah.
that. Um, I haven't really had that distinction ever.
Mm.
I mean, I mean, even early on in the social media days, I wrote about, how it's so much easier to just be the same person online and offline and everywhere. Like, just be you, just be authentic. And then you never have to worry about anything because you're just you. And so that's kind of how I've lived for a long, long time. And again, some people hate it. Some people hate my orange shoes. Some people hate me wearing pajamas. Some people are never going to like me, and I get it. And that, I guess, isn't ideal for politics. But the flip side is, I know that there have been many, many people through the years that have appreciated like me being like what you see is what you get, and
Yeah.
super authentic and super vulnerable, and like like who would come on this podcast and be like, "Oh, by the way, People Magazine called me homely." Like that's crazy, but like it's a reality. So like I'm not like I'm okay. I'm still here. I'm hanging. My self-esteem's still intact, right? So yeah, I think for me this line between public and private has never really been, or certainly not in the last, long time, hasn't been very well defined. It's side of this big blend. And then to your other point, yes, I absolutely know that this Democratic leader has the best of intentions, is coming from a place of a lot of experience and seeing politicians get taken down for all sorts of gaffes, and is only truly concerned with me winning and with the slate winning. Like that is their ultimate concern. And I
Yeah.
appreciate that so much and respect that so much. But how can I appreciate that and respect that and also ultimately like just choose to live my own life and choose my own path? And that's the challenge. And it's the case for Pajama Gate, which at the end of the
Yeah.
day, like, is it really that big a deal to anyone? I don't think. Hope not. And then it's the case for much bigger things like my Jewish identity and the fact that, I included this picture of being, of standing up for the hostages. And this was a march that I'm doing every week in Roslyn, part of our town, with a bunch of amazing people that like literally show up every Sunday, and are planning on showing up every single Sunday until the hostages come home. And I chose to put that picture on my literature, knowing that um,
It's polarizing.
it's polarizing. It's going to tell people that I am Jewish. I am proud Jewish. I stand with Israel, and that's going to upset some people. It's going to upset some people in the Democratic Party that are uber left. It's going to, potentially upset Muslims that, feel differently about the conflict. And, in my ideal scenario, I can have a conversation with every single one of the 250,000 people in this town, and like they can see me for who I am. They can all listen to the podcast. In reality, I know that that's not going to happen. And
Yeah.
many, many people will make a snap judgment about me from either the letter next to my name or the literature that goes out, or like the one thing that they see in the newspaper or on YouTube or on Facebook or whatever. And there's a huge risk that that one thing that they see will piss them off.
Yeah.
But my hope is that that one thing that many people will see will be enough to get enough people to be like, okay, cool, yeah, I think he's got our back. I think he's going to stand up for at least some of the things that I care about. I think that he's going to, yeah, actually lower my taxes. I think he's going to actually be a kind of leader that listens. I think he is going to, stand up for small businesses. Like if people believe in me, if enough people believe in me, then I win, and then I can actually demonstrate that I can deliver. And if pajamas or being Jewish is going to mean I lose, then I got to live with that. And I guess it sucks. And it really sucks if I take other people down with me. But of course, my hope, Jess, is that those little things like pajamas in the morning and the big things like my Jewish identity are going to help more than hurt.
Yeah. I think that being so open about who you are and polarizing is actually one of the things that is really helpful for people to latch on to. People either love it or hate it. They either think that he's going to fight for them or he's going to be against them. I also want to touch a little bit about how you are saying, I have this disagreement with this leader and I still have to be me. I think that that's an important point about the humanity of disagreements. You don't have to change who you are because you disagree with somebody, but you do have to acknowledge them.
Yeah.
And I think that that's something that's missing in a lot of the discourse around the country with regards to politics and with regards to these polarizing topics.
Yeah. Again, at the end of the day, like it is what it is. I guess I could change. I mean, a lot of people change. A lot of people compromise. A lot of people, say one thing and one thing to one person and another thing to another person. I only want to pursue this new career if it means that I can be true to who I am at every step of the way.
Yeah.
And, I attended a Democratic Club meeting last night too, and I left early. And as I was leaving early, somebody said to me, "Why are you leaving early?" And I said, "My son has a basketball game. I'm prioritizing my son's basketball game." Like, period. If that
Yeah.
I and that might upset people. I get it. That sucks. And I ain't skipping my son's basketball game. So that's gonna be what it's gonna be. And I truly believe I can do this, both campaign and then more important, govern and still like prioritize being a dad, number one.
Yeah.
And hopefully I can. I think I can. It's hard. Everyone says you've got to compromise, you've got to give here, change there. I don't know. Like I'm going to keep listening and acknowledging everyone. That's the plan. Listen and acknowledge, help people feel heard, and at the end of the day, try to keep being me for as long as I possibly can on the little things like pajamas and maybe the bigger things like my Jewish identity. I mean, the thing is, Israel is not a town issue, but
Yeah.
getting along is a town issue. Anti Semitism is a town issue. Islamophobia is a town issue. And I'm ready to tackle all of those, like head on. So
Yeah.
I'm hopeful that, for example, I mean, obviously the Jewish pro-Israel population has embraced me, although I guess we'll see on election day because they have tended to vote, Republican in the last few years. So hopefully they actually will embrace me, right? And then, but perhaps more important for this conversation, like I hope I have a chance with as many of the Muslim population as possible to have a 10-minute conversation with me, and I truly believe if they see what's in my heart, they're gonna be cool with me, hopefully, right? I mean,
Yeah.
I can only try to do that. And the what the leaders argument was is that people aren't going to have that 10-minute conversation with you. People aren't going to listen to this podcast. They're going to have a very, very small snapshot of you that might literally only be the D or the R. and might only be one piece of literature, one tiny, thing that they see in the newspaper, etc. And do you want that to be something that turns them off? And it's a tough point. It's a good point. I don't really know how to answer it except to say no. I don't want it to be something that turns them off, but I don't want to live my life in a way that's avoidant of any possible risk of it turning them off.
Well, and it's no life at all to avoid risk. As an entrepreneur, you have to be very, very comfortable with risk. And before we started recording, you had mentioned that somebody in the circle was saying, maybe even seeing you in pajamas is going to help rather than hurt. We don't know what people are thinking. You cannot, you can never know.
And that reminds me of two things, Jessica. First, I've taken a lot of risks and failed a lot. But the people that are the most successful in life also have the most failures
Yeah.
because they're the ones that take the risks. And I'm going to have to keep taking risks, hoping that ultimately the risks pay off. And one difference here is that I'm taking more people with me. But, when I was building companies, when I was taking risks with companies, I was still taking people with me, my investors, my employees, my family. So, in a way, it's not too dissimilar. And the other thing I'm reminded of is one of my favorite adages that I share with my wife all the time. We share with each other when we don't know what an outcome is going to be, and that's good thing, bad thing, who knows. And there's lots of proverbs about this, but the reality is when we make a decision, we absolutely don't know what the outcome is going to be. We never know. And when
Yeah.
something happens to us, we don't know whether it's a good thing or a bad thing. It might feel like a really bad thing, but we don't know. We don't know. When I studied uh, positive intelligence under Shirzad Shamin, Stanford professor, brilliant, brilliant guy. He talks about this good thing, bad thing, who knows, and talks about every single thing that happens to us, every single choice. We can either say, we can assign it. We can say this is bad. We can say we don't know. We don't know yet. He talks about in his book Christopher Reeve. This is the most
Yeah.
striking example, and I mean it's crazy. But when Christopher Reeve was asked what the best thing to ever happen to him was, he said getting paralyzed because it gave his life so much incredible meaning. He was able to give back so much to the world and to help raise awareness and to help fight for people with disabilities. I mean, who in the world would think that getting paralyzed would be not, a good thing? I mean, obviously, in so
Yeah.
many ways, of course, a devastating thing. But the idea is that we choose our own perspective. We choose our own perspective, and we do not know in the moment whether something is good or bad. We truly don't, right?
Yeah.
I could be looking back on this moment 20 years from now, thinking that the Pajama Gate and choosing to wear pajamas to Dunkin Donuts in the morning was the best decision I ever made, or idiotic and cost me an election and I left politics forever. We have no idea. We have
Yeah.
no idea. All we can do at the end of the day, given that we don't know, is taking the information as best we can and then stay true to ourselves. That's all we
Yep.
can do in every possible decision, in every possible obstacle that gets thrown our way. Take it all in and choose to move forward in the best way we know how. That's true to ourselves. And yeah, that's what I'm going to do. That's what I'm going to do. So we can only control our choices and our perspectives on things and know that we don't know what's going to happen, but we need to stay true to ourselves. And I just want to say, to close this episode, how grateful I am for you because you took an enormous risk to do this with me, you you knew Carrie, but you really had no idea who I was. And of course, doing a podcast with someone is such an intimate experience. And I'm just really, really grateful to you, Jess, for taking a risk and doing this, spending so much of your time with me over the last few weeks.
Mm. You know, it's so interesting. When Carrie introduced us, I thought, oh, well, this will be a fun podcast to, kind of be involved in, and I'll just be the producer. I'm not gonna do much more than strategy and my normal production work. And when I met you, I even emailed Carrie. I was like, I love Dave. Um, and
I
she's like,
said
I
I
know
loved you
everybody
too.
does. And we haven't talked about this off camera, so it's interesting that it's being recorded. But my mentor in corporate was a lot like you. He was a mensch as well. Very, very likable leadership. And I texted my mom and I was like, I found my new Scott.
Oh,
So I am just so honored to be in your world along this ride with you. And let's freaking go.
let's go. Thank you, Jess. I love Scott, and it's really this has been a great ride so far, and I can't wait to see where it takes us next.
Agreed. Everyone's career path is different. Whether you're transitioning into public service or building your professional network, LinkedIn helps you make the right connections. Showcase your experience, discover new opportunities, and join conversations that matter in your industry. With LinkedIn Premium, you get insights about who's viewing your profile and advanced search filters to help find the right people. Start expanding your professional network today at linkedin.com. LinkedIn, connect to opportunity. Thanks for going behind the scenes with us on The Candidate. If you enjoyed getting the real story about running for office, take a moment to rate and review us wherever you get your podcasts. Your support means the world to us. See you next time.